What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, we've got big news, ladies and gentlemen. We've got very big news indeed, because the Dragon Ball Super trading card game has been officially confirmed to be getting a proper digital version. This, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely huge. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking, hang on a second, Wassy, I know you covered Dragon Ball Super back in the early days of the game, but you don't really cover Dragon Ball Super that much anymore, do you? And the answer is, well, no, for a bunch of reasons, honestly, no. However, this is made by Bandai. And Bandai make both the Digimon trading card game and the One Piece trading card game, which are the two biggest games that I cover, and they are the bulk of my videos on here at the moment. And let's be perfectly clear, yes, this absolutely does mean something when it comes to One Piece and Digimon. It does not mean that we are going to be getting official apps for One Piece and Digimon, but it absolutely does mean that there is a decent chance in the not too distant future. That is very important. So the announcement has come down at the North American Final Championships, and it is finally coming. But the announcement told us like nothing. It did tell us coming in 2023. Yay! So it is at least coming next year. We're not going to have to wait any longer than that. That is it. Sorry, that is literally all they told us. They told us more information is going to be coming, and that's lovely. You would expect more information to be coming. Be weird if that's the only thing they ever told us. We didn't even, it was like a 56-second trailer, but the trailer didn't even show us a look at the UI. Now, one thing that is very important to note is that Digimon and Dragon Ball and One Piece have all had a tutorial app. So you've got to think that this is going to be kind of like the tutorial app, and it is going to be, functionally and aesthetically kind of like the tutorial app. I'm not saying it is going to be the same as the tutorial app. I'm not saying they won't make changes, but I absolutely am saying that they've already put the groundwork in on the tutorial app, designing the UI and getting the basics working, and to me it would make sense if they just expanded on that. Not saying they will, just saying that's what makes the most sense. And now we have to wait and see. We are told that more information will be happening on the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour on March the 4th and 5th, which is another way of saying you won't hear anything for the next 3 months. On the one hand, it's saying, yeah, we'll tell you in 3 months, that's awesome. On the other hand, it is saying quite clearly, don't expect any updates in the next 3 months. You are going to be disappointed, it is not coming. So, this is wonderful, wonderful news. So then, of course, we get to the question of, is this just going to be a Dragon Ball Super thing, or is this going to be a Digimon and One Piece thing as well? And actually, we could kind of lump Battle Spirits in there as well, because don't forget, Battle Spirits Saga is going to be launching next year, and I've already made a couple of videos about that on this channel. That is a game that I initially wasn't that excited about. I am now getting pretty gosh darned excited about it. So, is this going to be extended to One Piece and Digimon and maybe Battle Spirit Saga down the line? I mean, look, they too have had tutorial apps. Now, I taught business for many, many years. I was 13 years I was a professional business teacher before I quit to cover card games for a living. So I like to think this is one of those areas, the business of card games, where I have more than a little bit of expertise. It's kind of like the only thing I know at the moment, all right? This is pretty much everything I know. And the thing is, when it comes to the tutorial apps, they do a very specific thing. They were never intended to be full online versions of the game. They were made as tutorial apps. Now, like I mentioned a minute ago, you've still got the interface and a lot of the legwork done, although please don't underestimate quite how long it would take to turn that into a full app with all of the rules, all of the card interactions, etc., and then the ongoing work to actually keep up with it. That is not a quick and easy thing to do. Although, you know, like I say, you've done some of the legwork, but that was never intended to be. The existence of the tutorial app does not tell us we are going to be getting a full online version. But it does show that Bandai are willing to work on digital versions, and it shows us that they understand the importance of having access to the game in some form on your phone and tablet so people can at least learn it. So why did it take Dragon Ball Super so long to get a proper companion app? And the answer here is extremely simple. There are 2 times you can launch an app of a card game. Number one, and obviously I'm talking about in a modern era, yeah? You can look at things like Pokemon with PTCGO, but they were kind of doing that like a decade ago, and there really was no roadmap. Nowadays, it's really easy. There are 2 times you can launch it. Time number 1, at the launch of the game, see things like Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I think it was, where, you know, the app and the physical card game are all very much bound together. You do that as a real part of it. Bandai are clearly not doing that. They didn't do it for Dragon Ball, they didn't do it for Digimon, and they're not doing it for One Piece, because One Piece has just launched a couple days ago, and there is no full app as far as we are aware. The only other time it really makes sense is when you know the game is worth it. When you have enough actual data of sales and player numbers and all kinds of things that these companies collect. When you have enough data to tell you the game is going to last, then you start making it. Now, this does add a very interesting question for Dragon Ball, because over the past couple of years, Dragon Ball it's been slipping a bit in terms of how big it is amongst other TCGs. It has been falling a bit. And there were times this was actually very, very good. So if we go to fall 2018, ICV2 puts a list together of the top 10 collectible games every 6 months. It is not perfect, but it's the best we've got to go on. If we go to fall 2018, it is the number 5 game, weirdly behind Keyforge. We all know that Keyforge went and is now coming back on a Kickstarter. We can also see Transformers and Star Wars Destiny there, which haven't lasted. Those games are already gone. But by the time we get to spring 2022, which is the most recent list we've got, you can see that it is hanging on there at number 10, below even My Hero Academia from Jasco, which is a very good game I'm a big fan of, but I think it's fair to say My Hero Academia has not been setting the world on fire. The thing is, these games take a while to make. So if you're asking me why it took so long to get this, it's really simple. The game launched back in 2017, and then they gave it, I don't know, say a couple of years to actually see if the game was going to work. Because remember, Bandai might be about to launch their 4th card game now, but Dragon Ball Super, when they launched that was Bandai's card game. Bandai are big into TCGs now, they weren't back in 2017. So you give it a little bit of a while. You see if it is going to take off, you see if it's going to be successful, and then from there, you can make that judgment. Then they make the judgment, then they have to go into development, and again, we're talking about a company that aren't used to making digital versions of physical trading card games, because although they have in the past, at that point, they're not really making physical trading card games, and that's why it takes a while to do. So then we flash forward to One Piece and we flash forward to Digimon, and we ask the question, what are the chances of them getting a proper app? And my answer to both of them is pretty high. I mean, I just showed you the latest figures that have been put out by ICV2, and they've got Digimon as the 6th biggest card game, Dragon Ball as the 10th. Well, a collectible game, because Icons of the Realms is not actually a card game, it's a miniatures game. But it's right there. You know, the only card game above Digimon at the moment is Weiss Schwarz. Other than that, you've got Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh!, all of which have fully fledged companion apps. So the only one that doesn't, to be clear, is Weiss Schwarz. And if we look at the launch, at least in Japan, the One Piece trading card game has gotten off to a much faster start than Digimon, and that is not to put down the start of Digimon. Digimon had a cracking start in Japan, sold out everywhere, did really well. One Piece is just on another level. Remember, I showed you the other day, I went to the One Piece card game shop in Gateshead. They've opened one in Gateshead in the UK. They've opened a few over in Japan as well. And they are concessions in existing Bandai Namco stores. So they're just using space in their existing stores. But still, they are at least using that space and putting these things up there. And the fact of the matter is, if they are willing to go to that level, you've got to think they're willing to make a digital client. Here's the bad news, at least for One Piece. It's going to be a while. Because here's the thing. One of the factors is you need to make sure that the card game is doing well enough. That's a big thing. But also, I've told you a couple of times, Bandai started with Dragon Ball Super. They've then moved on to Digimon, One Piece, and Battle Spirits, and now they're potentially juggling 4 card games at once. That makes this Dragon Ball a big test. Because if the Dragon Ball online version doesn't work, or isn't successful, say goodbye to any hope of getting it for Digimon or One Piece. It's not happening. If it does work, and we're sitting here in a situation where One Piece and Digimon are both doing very well as card games, and Bandai have made this companion app, which is a full-fledged digital version, and that's doing well, you don't need to be a professional business teacher to realise it makes perfect sense to actually go ahead and do that for the other games. But I would imagine the way it usually works, and I can't speak for Bandai, I don't work for Bandai, I don't have any insider information, but generally speaking, what you would do in this situation is you would use Dragon Ball as a test. You would see how that works, and then that would be how you make your decision as to whether to go to the others. Because the others have their companion apps already, the Learn to Play apps. And you've already done a bunch of the work, or got a company involved, however they're doing it, to make the Dragon Ball app, at which point I would imagine that the lead time, the amount of time it takes to make this game, would be quite a lot shorter for Digimon and One Piece than it would be for Dragon Ball Super. So my prediction is, if this Dragon Ball app does well, and I think it's fair to assume it probably will, honestly, then I don't see why we wouldn't get one for Digimon and One Piece. I think it's going to take a lot longer than you guys want and I want, because firstly, especially for One Piece, they've got to make sure the game has legs, and there's no way to shortcut that. You've just got to wait a while and see how the stats work out. But also, they've got to make sure that this Dragon Ball Super thing works before they then move on to look at doing it for other games. What I will say is, and this is one other question I do need to talk about, because this is kind of annoying, I've seen a bunch of people already going, oh, they're launching an online app, that's going to kill the physical card game. How? That makes no sense. The Pokemon trading card game has had PTCGO, a fully fledged online version, for a decade, and that card game has never been more popular. Magic's got Magic Arena, and that's doing, okay, I know Magic is having some problems at the moment, but it's not because necessarily Magic Arena, it's for other things. Then, of course, you've got Yu-Gi-Oh!, which has got a big online version as well, and that's selling just fine right now. That makes no sense. I'm sorry, it makes absolutely no sense. Because the way you do it isn't an either-or, it's an and. Yes, if Bandai suddenly made all of the tournaments online, yes, that would kill the physical card game, potentially. But while they're still printing physical cards and having the God Rares and all of that you can use for collecting purposes, and they're having big physical in-person tournaments, what the companion app is going to do is exactly what it does for all the other big card games. It's going to give you a chance to play the game when you can't get to locals. It means you can play the game super easily from the comfort of your sofa every night, rather than having to get a group of friends together, go to your local game store, etc., which basically means people end up playing the game more, which means they buy more cards. So no, this is not going to kill the physical card game. That's kind of ridiculous. If it works like it should, it is going to provide a massive boost to the physical card game, because what it does is make the game way easier to play. Right now, I don't play Dragon Ball more than just kind of casually around the kitchen table, because I can't keep up with the meta, and my collection of cards is, shall we say, a bit old. You launch this companion app, and I can build the big decks online and sit and play a few games every night. Yeah, I'm getting back into playing Dragon Ball. And a bunch of other Laps players are going to get way back into playing Dragon Ball. And the serious players are just going to play when they can't get down to locals. And no, this is not good. I'm not saying the card game is destined for long-term success. I hope so. But I am saying that it's definitely not going to be the companion app that kills it. People are not going to sell all their physical cards and play exclusively online, because if you care enough to play seriously online and build a big collection, then you want to go to the big tournaments, which are in person, so you're going to need the cards. You see where I'm going with this. So basically, this is absolutely huge, and no, it doesn't guarantee that One Piece and Digimon will get companion apps, but I think it makes it pretty likely. As long as those games keep going like they are, and being successful like it really looks like they're going to, and as long as this Dragon Ball companion app is going to be successful, and I'm willing to put my hat out right now and say I believe it is going to be, yeah. It's not going to be as fast as we want it, but I do believe it's coming, and I am excited. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about a lot of card games, including, you know, all the ones we're talking about here. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.